I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes. And then, when they kind of went on their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why. But the offense, I think, for us, it starts on defense. And we, struggled, scouting report-wise. We struggled personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us. And then, overall, we just played with more energy and effort, and those are the things that just can't happen.
The Gainbridge Fieldhouse was packed, a sold-out crowd buzzing with anticipation. The return of Caitlin Clark, the Fever's generational superstar, was supposed to be a celebration, a statement, but instead of fireworks, what unfolded was a meltdown of epic proportions. The Indiana Fever were demolished 80-61 by an expansion team that had already embarrassed them once before. But this time, the pain cut deeper. This wasn't just a routine loss. This was a dismantling of everything the Fever had built during their winning streak, an unraveling of identity, chemistry, and direction. And at the heart of the disaster stood head coach Stephanie White, whose post-game comments stunned fans and analysts alike. Instead of accountability, she pointed fingers. Instead of solutions, she laid blame. And now the question looms large. Is this the kind of leadership a team built around a once-in-a-generation player needs? Subscribe, and comment. Should Stephanie White be fired after this humiliating collapse?
We have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right. She also needs to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
Just days before this collapse, the Indiana Fever were riding a wave of momentum that had the entire league paying attention. They had just captured their first Commissioner's Cup trophy, defeating two of the most dominant teams in the WNBA. A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces were left frustrated by a Fever squad that executed with precision and poise. The Minnesota Lynx, led by Nafisa Collier, were also taken down in a game that showcased the Fever's newfound identity. This wasn't luck. This was a team that had seemingly discovered its formula for success.
Caitlin, you've had career high school, college, pro. You never were really injured before and had to sit out. Now it's been twice. How do you mentally go through that part besides the physical rehab while you were sitting out? How did you cope with it at home and killing time?
It's honestly been hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult, going to prepare for games, but knowing you're not going to be playing in them, and I think just reminding myself of, my abilities and what I've been able to do in this league, even though I've been sitting out, and, just trying to be a great teammate, be a great leader, even though I've been on the bench, and serve my teammates in that way.
With Aaliyah Boston controlling the paint, Lexie Hull stretching the floor, Kelsey Mitchell providing scoring bursts, and Clark waiting to return, the Fever looked like a team destined for a deep playoff run. The chemistry was fluid, the rotations were tight, and above all, they played to their strengths. But all of that progress was derailed in one night, exposing cracks in the foundation that now seemed too big to ignore. And what happened next would change everything.
I think it's given me great perspective on what other people have gone through their career. And, like you said, I've been fortunate enough to never really been injured, and I play a lot of minutes usually. So I think it gives me good perspective, not only for people that are injured, but, some of your teammates that may not be getting the minutes that they want to get. And I think I can use that experience to be a better leader, to be a better teammate. But also it's challenged me mentally. I think, it's really hard to stop and go. And especially when you're not feeling your best. So just trying to get my body as healthy as I can be and remain confident in myself, and then do everything I can once I step back out on the court to help us win.
Caitlin Clark's highly anticipated return from injury should have been the momentum boost the Fever needed. Fans had waited 5 games to see their superstar back on the court, and the energy inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse reflected that. But when the starting lineup was announced, eyebrows were immediately raised. Stephanie White had removed Lexie Hull, one of the team's most consistent defenders and floor spacers, and inserted Ari McDonald at point guard. This forced Clark to move out of her natural position and play off ball at small forward.
Look, she can give her different looks. It could turn into something beautiful. I'm excited to see both of them on the floor together because they can create shots for one another. But it didn't happen today. So you should have made the adjustments once the offense looked so stagnant, looked so lost, discoordinated. You should have went ahead and changed that. All right? You should have changed that.
The decision baffled analysts. Clark, who thrives as the primary ball handler, was suddenly relegated to a role that stripped away her strengths.
What did you like about Caitlin and Ari starting the game together and Lexie coming off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I like the ability to have two primary ball handlers on the floor, particularly with a team that comes aggressively, in the two-man game. Being able to play off of one another, being able to give the opponent some different looks, and quite frankly, for C specifically, not having to have her play under duress 94 feet the entire time she's on the floor. So there were some things that we liked about it. There were some things that we don't. So we'll continue to work with that.
Meanwhile, McDonald and Clark overlapped awkwardly, their styles clashing instead of complementing each other. Hull, whose three-point shooting and defensive hustle had been key to recent victories, was left on the bench. In trying to reinvent the wheel, White compromised everything that had been working. What followed was an offense in total disarray.
We have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right, she also needed to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
The Golden State Valkyries weren't expected to dominate a playoff contender, let alone do it twice. But for the second time this season, the expansion team completely dismantled the Fever, this time in front of their home crowd.
Benley lays that one in. Look at the attack, how quickly up the floor. And Clark hits a three. The Fever have hit.
Indiana's offense collapsed, shooting a dismal 31% from the field and just 6 of 27 from beyond the arc. Every possession felt like an uphill battle. Ball movement was non-existent, and spacing suffered with Clark playing off-ball. The rhythm that once defined the Fever's recent surge was gone.
It's every single person on our team, and nobody played well today. And you should look yourself in the mirror and find ways where you can get better, and come back to practice tomorrow and then play again on Friday.
In 2 full quarters, one in the second, another in the fourth, the team combined for just 19 total points. 10 offensive rebounds were surrendered in the second half alone, giving the Valkyries endless second-chance opportunities. The crowd that once buzzed with anticipation fell into stunned silence. What was supposed to be a triumphant night for Clark turned into one of the most painful collapses in recent franchise history. And this wasn't an isolated bad night. It felt like the unraveling of everything they had worked toward.
I think collectively we didn't do a good job at taking away the stuff that their team likes to do and making them do things they don't want to do. We didn't do a good job of that. We also gave up some timely offensive rebounds that they do a great job of kicking it out, getting open looks, getting open threes late in the game. I think it really just comes down to effort and us not locking in mentally and following the scouting report.
After the final buzzer, when the dust settled and the scoreboard reflected a humiliating 19-point defeat, all eyes turned to head coach Stephanie White. Her post-game press conference, however, didn't offer the accountability many expected. Instead, she placed the blame squarely on her players. White expressed disappointment in their energy, discipline, and attention to detail, claiming there was a lack of competitive fire, with the exception of 2 short spurts.
I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. With the exception of about 2 5-minute spurts. Our attention to detail was poor. I'm not sure if it's not knowing the game plan as much as, because if it's not knowing the game plan, then that's a whole nother conversation, as much as not executing the game plan.
But what shocked many was the complete absence of any acknowledgement of her own coaching missteps. No explanation for benching Lexie Hull. No reflection on the failed McDonald-Clark experiment. No mention of the stagnant offense she designed. The message was clear. This loss was on the players, not the staff. Analysts were quick to call out. One described her comments as deflection at its worst. While leaders take accountability, White distanced herself from the disaster.
Our attention to detail, undisciplined. I felt like our energy and our competitive fire was not there, and that's disappointing.
I guess, why do you think you had some of these inconsistencies when it comes to focus and engagement, things like that?
I'd say discipline more so than focus. I think this is a group that focuses. But you can focus, and then you have to be able to go out and be disciplined enough to execute it, right? I'm not sure. We're as coaches, that's our job to figure it out. Why it is. You've seen it in spurts. You've seen it in moments. You've seen it with certain lineups. So finding, for us, finding those lineups that we've seen it with consistently and maybe keeping those together.
It wasn't just a tactical failure. It was a failure in leadership. And the fallout was only beginning. While Stephanie White deflected responsibility, Caitlin Clark faced the media with poise and maturity beyond her years. In her first game back from injury, Clark didn't shy away from the team's shortcomings. She admitted they failed to execute the game plan, struggled defensively, and allowed themselves to be deflated early. Instead of pointing fingers, she emphasized the need for self-reflection, stating, "Nobody played well today. Everybody needs to look in the mirror." Her tone was grounded, her message unified, and her words resonated with fans desperate for accountability. In sharp contrast to White's blame-heavy presser, Clark's remarks reflected a willingness to lead, even in defeat. She spoke of consistency, preparation, and mindset. No excuses, no scapegoats. This stark difference exposed a growing rift in how leadership is modeled within the team. One leads with blame, the other with responsibility. The franchise's identity crisis deepened as fans and analysts began asking, who's really setting the tone for this team?
I would say we can do better than the motion offense when Caitlin Clark's on the bench. We can utilize Kelsey. We can utilize AB. We can utilize Aerie. We can do things. But no. No. Caitlin Clark was a decoy for many parts of this game. Majority of this game, dare I say. She didn't seem like a threat, other than when the ball is in her hands, which Stephanie White literally has a heart attack. He says, "No, Caitlin, no! Too many assists, stop! Too much facilitating, cut it out!"
Stephanie White's decision to bench Lexie Hull sent shockwaves through the team's structure, and the consequences were immediate. Hull had been a pillar of the Fever's recent success, known for her relentless defense, sharp three-point shooting, and off-ball movement that perfectly complemented Caitlin Clark's playmaking. Her absence left the court unbalanced.
So what happened? The Fever? Slow it down! They get into the beautiful motion offense we've all been in love with since the start of the season. Oh, pass, screen away. Oh, what a thing of beauty. Pass, screen away. Oh my goodness. Did you see how Kelsey Mitchell just set that screen? Mwah! Magnificent. And the Valkyrie, Natalie Nakase, and the crew, they said, oh, now's our time to strike. So over the remainder of the first quarter, the whole entire second quarter, after being up 20-11 with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go, the Golden State Valkyrie proceed to go on a 30-12 run for the next 13 minutes.
Without Hull, floor spacing disappeared, allowing the Valkyries to collapse on Clark and Boston with ease. Defensive communication suffered. The Fever gave up multiple second-chance buckets, and the perimeter was left vulnerable. Hull's hustle plays, those second and third effort moments that swing momentum, were nowhere to be found.
It doesn't take much. There's other ways. But to give up your defensive presence just to mitigate that? Come on, man. To give up your defensive presence, Lexie Hull, somebody who hustles to get rebounds, right? Hustles to get the rebounds. She had like 7 to 8 rebounds. 7 to 8 rebounds, man. We're going to look at the stats, but she was hustling.
Stat sheets from recent games showed Hull consistently contributing across the board, including rebounds, steals, and key stops. Her intangibles weren't just helpful, they were essential. Removing her from a starting lineup felt less like a rotation tweak and more like a critical error in judgment. It stripped the team of its rhythm, and the system unraveled as a result. This wasn't just a bad decision, it was a catastrophic one. A deeper issue is beginning to emerge, one that extends beyond a single game or questionable substitution. Stephanie White's system appears fundamentally incompatible with Caitlin Clark's natural style of play. Clark excels when the offense runs through her hands, allowing her to orchestrate, improvise, and create. Her vision, tempo control, and decision-making are what make her generational. Yet under White's leadership, Clark is being forced into rigid offensive sets that stifle her instincts. She's asked to run off-ball screens, act as a spot-up shooter, and defer to schemes that limit her creativity. Analysts noted how awkward the spacing looked, how unnatural her off-ball role felt, and how easily the offense broke down.
You know, our team, we have a lot of inconsistency. We raise to the occasion when we're playing for 30,000, and then we need to bring that level of focus and that level of energy every single day. It's really hard to win in this league, and I think, we need to focus every game because all of these games matter when September, October comes. So it's really just going to come to us, and we really need to regroup, turn the page, learn from this, and come with a better mindset on Friday.
White's post-game explanation that this approach relieved pressure from Clark only added confusion. Instead of empowering their star, the system minimized her. And now, whispers are turning into debates. Can Clark thrive in a system that doesn't trust her to lead? Or is the team asking the wrong star to adjust?
It has come down to this, y'all, and it's plain and simple. Caitlin Clark has to give the Indiana Fever an ultimatum. That's right. I've been disgusted all day about this piss-poor, embarrassing performance from the players, and most of all, from this coaching staff. Stephanie White, I'll say it again, you are a pure bum of a coach.
The reaction from fans was swift and brutal. Just a season ago, the Indiana Fever were averaging barely 4,000 fans per home game, struggling to stay relevant in a league desperate for momentum. That all changed when Caitlin Clark arrived. Attendance soared. National broadcasts followed. Merch sales exploded. The Fever were finally at the center of the conversation. But after this devastating loss to the Valkyries, many felt like they had been dragged back in time. Social media erupted with outrage. "This looks like 2023 all over again," one comment read. "They're wasting Clark's prime before it even starts." Critics didn't just focus on the score, they zeroed in on the strategy, the rotations, and most of all, the coaching. Stephanie White became a trending topic, not because of success, but because of perceived failure. Fans weren't angry just about losing. They were furious that a team loaded with talent looked so broken.
As long as Stephanie White is here, we'll never see the true greatness that Caitlin Clark has within her. We'll never see it. Caitlin Clark has to march up to that front office and say, hey, look, either you guys are going to fix this and we're going to do it my way, or I will not put on this jersey and I will not allow you guys to profit off of me any longer. It's that simple. You want her or you want me? I'm going to pick the coach. I'm going to tell you what players I want on this team. Caitlin Clark has to put her foot down. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I have never seen someone fumble, just flat out fumble a golden goose like this. The WNBA has fumbled her. The Indiana Fever management, coaching staff, everybody has failed Caitlin Clark at every single turn. All of them.
For the Fever, this wasn't just a PR problem. It was an identity crisis rekindled in front of thousands. For a brief moment in the third quarter, the Indiana Fever rediscovered who they were supposed to be. Caitlin Clark, finally allowed to initiate the offense, took control and immediately ignited a run. In a short stretch, she dropped 3 points, dished out 4 assists, and grabbed a rebound, proving once again that her impact goes far beyond the box score. The offense began to hum. Players moved with purpose. Spacing returned. It wasn't just about her scoring. It was about the way she elevated everyone around her. That sequence was a glimpse into what this team could become if it simply embraced its star's strengths. But the momentum was short-lived. Stephanie White reverted to the experimental rotation, pulling Clark and reintroducing the broken system that had already failed.
I just feel like starting out this new combo, this new duo, who hasn't really had that much time to get into game reps. Game reps are nothing like practice reps. They are nothing like practice reps. You can go down the line in history and you will hear coaches and players say that it's just not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same pace. It's not the same energy. It's not the same effort. It's not the same. There's nothing like game reps. They had none together, and you started them together.
The Fever fell back into isolation plays, missed assignments, and flat-footed defensive sequences. What could have been a turning point became another missed opportunity. That third quarter didn't just show Clark's potential. It exposed how much is being squandered. With talent like Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexie Hull, the Indiana Fever have one of the most promising young cores in the WNBA. They've proven they can compete with the league's best when given the right conditions.
In fact, we almost look worse like that. And my last warning that I would say to the Indiana Fever brass This might come as a little bit of a low blow for you guys, but hey, it is what it is. In 2023, the Indiana Fever averaged 4,000 people in attendance for home games. 4,000 people. Do you want to go back to that or no? Just let me know.
Boston's dominance in the paint anchors both ends of the floor. Mitchell is a proven scorer, capable of taking over games. Hull provides elite-level hustle and perimeter shooting. And Clark is the kind of generational talent teams build dynasties around. But talent alone isn't enough. The system must unlock that potential, not suppress it. With every confusing rotation and tactical blunder, the Fever edge closer to wasting what could be a golden era. The league is watching. Fans are watching. Other teams are making adjustments. The longer Indiana remains paralyzed by indecision and poor leadership, the more their rivals surge ahead. The Fever don't need to rebuild, they need to refocus. And that means making hard decisions about who's truly equipped to lead this roster forward. Everything the Fever accomplished just 1 week ago now feels like a distant memory. The same team that hoisted the Commissioner's Cup and outclassed 2 WNBA powerhouses has spiraled into chaos. What happened against the Valkyries wasn't a one-off disaster. It was the unraveling of a team that had found its formula, only to watch it be undone by poor decisions and a refusal to adapt. Stephanie White's refusal to take ownership, her rigid system, and the baffling benching of key players have cast serious doubt on whether she's the right leader for this roster. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to shoulder the weight with composure, accountability, and undeniable brilliance when allowed to shine. The Fever's front office is at a crossroads. Do they double down on a coach who appears out of sync with her stars? Or do they finally start building around the generational talent they were lucky enough to draft? The clock is ticking, the pressure is mounting, and the window won't stay open forever. Like, subscribe, and comment should the Fever choose Clark or continue down the path with Stephanie White. Hit the bell so you never miss what happens next, because the real story is just getting started.